Saudi Arabia's economy expanded 6.8% in the fourth quarter of 2021, the fastest pace of annual growth in almost 10 years. High oil prices boosted the kingdom's oil income by 10.8%, according to preliminary estimates. Non-oil sectors also grew 5% in the same period, but it slowed again in the first month of this year as COVID-19 cases surged. Authorities have kept the economy largely open through the latest wave of the pandemic, mandating vaccines booster shots while continuing a series of major public events called the Riyadh season. Consumer spending in December was 1.8% higher than the same month 2 years ago before the pandemic. To understand more on this, joining us now is Neil Atkinson, independent analyst. Neil, many thanks for being with us today. We've seen that growth in the non-oil private sector lost momentum in the very beginning of this year. I mean, how worried are you that these new cases are really going to have an impact? Because we've seen so far figures suggesting that Omicron had only a relatively economic impact.
Well, I'm not too concerned. Saudi Arabia, obviously what we're talking about today, is not unique. And of course, in having dealt with the Omicron crisis, the figures that you were discussing in your opening remarks show a very strong recovery overall from the worst excesses of the pandemic, helped, of course, enormously by the very sharp increase in oil prices that we've seen during 2021 and into 2022. So all in all, despite the ongoing concerns that we all still have about Omicron, the Saudi economy is in a very, very good position to reap the rewards of what we hope will be a continued gradual recovery from COVID, not just in Saudi Arabia, but in the rest of the world.
Interesting, Neil. You say obviously Saudi Arabia is in a good position now because of thanks also to these high oil prices, but we can't say the same about consumers all around the world. What is the trajectory of the price of oil in the medium term? What's your opinion?
Well, the issue we have is trying to understand how strong the demand recovery is in 2022, and balancing against that is the availability of supply to meet that demand. Now, Saudi Arabia, as part of the OPEC Plus agreement, is committed to increasing production each month during the first part of 2022. And we're going to see also increases in production from outside the OPEC Plus group, for example, from the United States. What we're not clear about is whether the growth in supply will exceed the growth in demand or the other way around. There's a difference in opinion amongst the analysts. My personal view is that it's going to be a fairly tight balance during most of 2022, but with a tendency later in the year to perhaps there being a surplus. So I think that the stories about $100 a barrel coming soon and being here to stay are overplayed. And while that might not seem to be very good for Saudi Arabia, because of course they're hugely dependent on higher oil prices, Saudi Arabia realizes from history that prices that are too high too soon are bad for oil demand. They destroy oil demand, they slow economic activity, so they're trying to find a fair balance and a fair price for oil.
Neil Atkinson, thank you for this analysis.
Thank you.